Harry Como's Craft Music Hall will not be seen tonight, so that we may bring you the following special program.
Word Balloon is brought to you by the League of Word Balloon Listeners.
Terrificon, Connecticut's biggest Comic Con, is back at the Mohegan Sun Expo Center in Uncasville, Connecticut on August 16th through the 18th. See your favorite stars from TV and film and shop for comic books, toys and memorabilia. With top creators from Marvel and DC, costume contests with prizes, and so much more. Tickets on sale now at terrificon.com.
Welcome back, everybody. It's time again for Word Balloon, the comic book conversation show. John Suntress here. Always happy to welcome one of my old friends, Michael Avon Oeming. Great to see you, Mike.
Hey, how's it going, man?
It's going good. Man, you got a lot of stuff going on, and I'm so glad to talk to you about it. And for people watching, if you want to play greatest hits with Oeming as well, I'm sure Mike's willing to do that. But there is a lot of new stuff to talk about. And I'm getting to my images here. Well, first of all, you got a Kickstarter campaign underway for a collected version of After Realm, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I started doing After Realm as individual issues. I forget the first year even. But this is the collection of all 5 issues. Along with all 5 issues, there's like 22 new pages of never published before material. There's about 50-something pages of sketchbook and behind-the-scenes material. And we have a slipcase that's really beautiful. Dan Brereton did a cover for us, and we're using that for one side of it and my art for the other side. And then if you go to the Kickstarter campaign, there's a bunch of fun like add-ons and stuff. There's original art for sale. There's we're going to have a sort of After Realm party and after party. I'm going to do 2 live broadcasts for everybody who's participated in it. One sort of early in the day and one later, so for different parts of the country or overseas. And if you've backed, you can be part of it. It'll be a Q&A kind of thing. We're just figuring out stuff as we go along. You know, Kickstarters are always sort of evolving as you're working on them. And it got funded in like 4 hours. So I was really nervous because it's a big book. It's over 300 pages. Just really excited that it's going so well. And really grateful for it. So that's happening right now, and anybody can pop on. There's if the physical book and such is too pricey for you, there's always a PDF. So there's always an easy way for people to get in. But it's a lot of material, and I'm really proud of it. So I hope people check it out.
That's great, Mike. Honestly, and it's so in your wheelhouse. In fact, a couple of the projects I know and that we're going to be talking about tonight, they're. You know, if you like Oeming, it's After Realm and another a great Dark Horse thing that you've got going on as well. But yeah, that's terrific. I'm really glad, and it's you've done well with Kickstarter. This is your 6th or 7th.
This is the 6th one. Yeah, they've all been for the After Realm. We originally did them as double-sized issues that I was trying to do quarterly because it's really hard to make a schedule when you're making comics, whether you're working on a book monthly or you're hopping in between different productions and stuff. So at the beginning of it, I think I was still working on Cave Carson, or maybe it was towards the end of Cave Carson. So like I had this idea of like, well, if I'm doing this regular monthly thing, I want to have something that's just me, that's my own thing. And I can do this sort of quarterly. And that was the plan. And then other books came and went, and your schedule, it changes all over the place. But long story short, we got 5 issues all together. I was able to tell the complete story. Each Kickstarter was successful, and each time along, we learned more stuff. So and it's really rewarding. You have such a much more closer relationship with the readers on Kickstarter than through any other outlet and stuff. So it's definitely something that's on the future. I'm already planning the next couple of Kickstarters. And it's a perfect place. Like if you don't know if your story has a place in the direct market or not. So what's great with self-funding is that you know you don't have a lot of the trappings that you typically have to worry about, and you can tell some really weird stories.
Well, and Afterrealm really is kind of this post-apocalyptic that also has ties to one of your favorite subjects, Norse mythology. I mean, I've always
Sure.
appreciated your love of Norse mythology in particular, and yeah, I mean, this is and it kind of it's almost like if you tack on Norse mythology with something like Planet of the Apes in terms of the post-apocalyptic
Yeah.
look at the real world. Is that a
Yeah,
fair?
I definitely looked at it as like it's sort of a sandbox for all the stuff that fueled my imagination as a kid. You know, there's the Norse fantasy, there's a lot of video game references, like early video games references, especially a game I was obsessed with called Joust, where I was just constantly trying to figure out what was going on in Joust. A lot of Saturday morning cartoon action. You know, Thunder the Barbarian was a huge influence on me. Time Bandits, Highlander, and you know all this kind of stuff. And I wanted to create something where I can play around with all of these tools. And I think by the end of it, I figured it out.
That's excellent, man. And again,
Yeah.
a shared love of ours is all the speculative history of
Sure.
Eric von Daniken and Chariots of the Gods, and I'm always catching Ancient Aliens whenever it's on the History Channel, and I know
Yeah.
you're one of us when it comes to that kind of stuff.
That's really evolved and changed a lot for me recently. I still absolutely like. I've drawn a lot of creative influence from all of that. One of my other loves has been actual archaeology. And one of the beautiful things about social media is you now have access to people in ways that you haven't had before. So there's been a lot of, let's just call it re-education about some of that stuff, which I still really enjoy. I really love the speculative thing of it. But like a lot of things in life, sometimes it gets kind of out of hand and people forget to ask questions about the what ifness of it and just take it at face value. And I think that's done some damage to archaeology and to our history and stuff. So it's really interesting to have an interest stuff in this kind of thing, but also want to pump the brakes every now and then, you know.
Well, you can't let truth should get in the way of speculative. I don't even know what we call what the Ancient Aliens guys do and stuff because they don't have the proof. I mean, and again, but it is interesting. I mean, I remember
I've always enjoyed it when they were asking questions, but like it seems like a lot. It's not so much them, but so much a lot of the followers started turning it into this is fact. Like I remember going out once and I was getting a haircut, and we started talking about this stuff, and like I realized they weren't asking questions; they were just like, I don't want to get into it and stuff, but they were just saying these things, and I was just, oh my god, wait, they're not like, oh, this is interesting, modern mythology, campfire, what ifism, the possibilities of the universe is wonderful and all that stuff, right? So that started scaring me.
I can appreciate that. I want to ask too. I mean, in conjunction with the book that you've been doing with James Tynan, and that's Blue Book. And God, dude, I mean, again, I'm a little older than you. I remember that Jack Webb produced show from the 70s.
I love that show. I might have been watching it in repeats, but I remember watching it, and it was a huge influence on me as well. So, like, to do this series was really mind blowing. First of all, like I just wanted to do a pseudo journalistic view of UFO stuff in comics, but it just didn't seem like that was sellable. It didn't seem like that's the kind of thing that you could really do more than like a one shot kind of thing or something. And luckily, James Tinian had the same interests as I did, and as we were talking about stuff, and he had this opportunity to make this happen. It was this weird. It was a bucket list kind of thing that I didn't think would ever make it off the list because it just seemed too niche, But it's doing really well. We're working on the next arcs. The second arc, 1947, which covers the events of Kenneth Arnold and the earliest lore of UFO, the sightings and stuff in the United States. we just wrapped that up, and we're planning our next steps as well. And one of the main things that I find interesting about all this is I love rereading all this history because so much of it is repeating itself now. For those who are even tangentially paying attention to like how there's been these videos that have been released by the military and the government and stuff, and it seems like there's always this sort of weird cyclical, let's take a couple of steps forward to saying that there's something and then moving it back. And we can get into that. It's super interesting, but it is interesting to watch recent history repeating itself, which is a big lesson in general because that sort of happens everywhere. Like, we're old enough now. It's really weird. It's like, why aren't people paying attention to what happened like 20 years ago? Like, that's the same stuff just keeps coming back over and over again. Like, you don't have to look back into ancient history or the early 19th century to figure stuff out. It's like, oh, it's the same stuff. It's crazy. But
I agree with you
specifically about the UFO stuff, but yeah, it's
no. And I honestly, when that new military footage was released, you were one of the first guys I thought of, and I'm just like, see, I mean, and it's like, well, how do you deny? Because, God, you know what it reminded me of, and this is so weird. And again, I'm showing my age, but I bet you've seen the Martian Chronicles, the old Richard Matheson miniseries.
Oh yeah.
That adapted the Ray Bradbury stuff and everything with Rock Hudson, and just the way the vehicles looked was just so weirdly shaped, and God, they were just flying in this wonderful, like very, very straight pattern. I didn't know. I don't know what to think, and also I kind of love that. Now they've changed the abbreviation. It isn't UFOs anymore. I don't even remember what the current
because now we'll take it serious. Now people will take it seriously because it has a different acronym. But there's even sort of there's even sort of a history behind that. I'm forgetting offhand, but it's kind of interesting. The one thing we know for sure, that we know 100% for sure, is that it is useful. I got to be careful because it's a loaded word, but it's useful disinformation or useful way of distracting people from real military projects. So, real, not whatever, it's useful to like watch this hand while we're doing stuff over here, and I don't mean anything crazy. It's just, regular real military operations and budgets. Where does money go? Who's controlling the money? All that kind of stuff. Like it's a lot more like the stuff that you can prove about the UFO lore and technology has a lot more to do with red tape and egos and people within the military, the government protecting their information and their flow of money. It's always money. It's always money.
Of course, it's always money. No, you're absolutely right. I think too, to the television show you and I got to be part of, Jimmy Church's Unexplained show. Mike, have you been paying attention? I don't know if you guys have a digital antenna or if it's on whatever TV you consume, but there's a channel called Story, and they rerun the Unexplained every few months.
Oh, really?
And
That's great.
Absolutely, man. And my episode was about a JFK conspiratorial plot in Chicago 2 weeks before Dallas. You did a great episode about drones. Right? Wasn't that your subject?
Yes, yeah, and for those who don't know, this is a friend of ours who runs a very popular fringy podcast called Fade to Black with Jimmy Church. It's a great podcast. It's awesome fun to listen to. It's always positive. He does his best to steer away from the political end of things and covers any kind of subject and just lets his guests talk. And he's had a couple of television shows, and he's invited us to one or two of them. And we got to film together. Not together. We got to film with him for his show, for his pilot. And they do show it every now and then. And I got to do drone coverage, which was really interesting to see where it is now compared to then. There's nothing that was in that documentary, the television show, or whatever, that isn't not only plausible but happening. It's crazy. So if Jimmy's out there listening, thank you, and all the Fadernauts out there, thank you too.
It's weird. My cousin always does a big 4th of July party, and he buys like stadium level fireworks. And I'm not exaggerating. And really, it's like he's in his cul-de-sac firing this stuff off. I don't know what kind of relationship or agreement he has with the police, but they leave him alone, which is great. But it was so interesting mentioning drones. There was a drone filming, and it
Mm.
wasn't him. It wasn't any of his friends or anything like
Yeah,
that.
wow.
But it was so weird watching this drone just kind of monitor as they were firing off the
That's
fireworks.
awesome. Yes,
It was pretty cool.
some cities have replaced their fireworks with drone shows. Like, if you ever seen these videos coming out of like I think it was really kind of trailblazed in China, and they would have like literally like giant like dragons flying through the sky, and it's just thousands of little drones that are GPS, marked. So it's kind of like they have their invisible lattice in the sky, and they animate stuff like a giant hologram or something. And there's been a couple of cities here in the United States that started to do it as well. It's pretty awesome. It's pretty crazy. And
That's
of course, you
great.
can put little bombs and ammunition on those things to just kill whoever you want to. I mean, that's only minutes from happening or has happened or whatever.
So, before we leave Blue Book, when do we know when the next arc starts?
I'm just working on it now.
Okay, no problem.
But
No
all
rush.
I can say too is it's a little bit different than what we've been doing. Like it's kind of like that third season of your television show. The first season is the concept. The second season reinforces it. It explores things a little bit deeper. And then the third season, we have to shake it up a little bit. And we're shaking it up a little bit, and we're all very excited. I got to interview some people, and it's going to be wild.
So is that going to be like back matter, maybe the interviews, or is it just informing?
No, the interview
how-
I did. Yeah, I was just interviewing people in other countries, just for some of the information that we were getting and stuff. Not like whistleblowers or anything crazy like that. Just we were like some of the things are just looking how UFOs are investigated in other countries. It seems to be it's like there's this bad cliche that the UFO topic is somehow American centric, and I think it's also a story that we tell ourselves because Americans tend to only report what's going on in America, and then we just assume, well, that means nothing else is happening anywhere else. Whereas the activity it's all over the world. Whether you're talking about the stories of abduction or you're just talking about military encounters, whatever it is, like it's happening everywhere. It's not just happening here. And again, like my personal thought is, I still don't know what's really going on. And part of that is because of learning more about the history of it. It actually sort of, instead of gets me more excited about the possibilities that these are all alien stuff, like all I know for sure is that there's shenanigans involved, like government shenanigans. Whether it usually has to do with money. It just usually has to do with money. Like almost every story you can trace it to having to do with money or somebody protecting their power, and they're faking information here or they're covering up information there. And it's not because they're hiding a base, but it's because they're hiding their budget. That's the most common thing. I mean, and the other stuff, I'm not saying it doesn't happen at all or it's not a possibility. But it's this, that onion layer that you just kind of keep peeling back. And the first bunch of layers is just money.
No, I'm with you, man. Absolutely. Well, then now I'm going to switch to a couple other things, and that is, first of all, William of Newbury. Now, help me out, Mike, because obviously this is we can tell right from the cover and everything. This is great, kind of Knights of Yore in animal form.
Yeah.
Obviously, and forgive me, is there a direct tie to Mice Templar, one of your fantastic series of old, or is this a new?
Only the genre. Yeah, only the
Okay.
genre.
Okay.
Yeah.
So why not tie this to Mice Templar, and by all means go into the differences with William rather than Mice.
So Mice Templar is definitely high fantasy. It's definitely it's sort of my stab at a Lord of the Rings kind of thing with my partner Brian Glass and Victor Santos. This is based on, like, it's funny to say because it's anthropomorphic, but it's based on a true story. So there was an actual medieval historian, William of Newbury. His name was also William of Newburgh, is how he's better known. But there's all these different sort of pronunciations for his name throughout time and depending on where you are in the country. He was England's first historian, and he was writing about a time period called the Anarchy, where if you're watching House of Dragon right now, this is all stuff that George R. R. Martin based this plot on. Was this time period called the Anarchy, where there was this a secession problem, and you were going to have their first queen, and of course a bunch of dudes weren't going to allow there to be the first queen, so they're like, well, who's like the fifth closest dude who's related to the king, and you know and everything does it literally is called the Anarchy for a reason. Like there's no real rule of law. There's loyalty split across the place. There's all kinds of problems. A whole bunch of television series and a whole bunch of books have been placed during this time period because it is so interesting. So the first historian who wrote about this was William of Newbury, or Newburgh. And along with these very real histories, he was also writing what was a very real world to him, because he was living in a very spiritual Christian world where good and evil were tangible physical things. So he was also writing stories about revenants and ghosts and demons, because again, this was all very real to them. This wasn't like a question. So I got to say, this is based, and what I'm doing is I've taken 4 of his actual stories of people coming back from the dead. There's a fairy tale story or a fairy folklore story in there, and some demonic stuff that he recorded. So I'm not only am I retelling those stories, I've kept the titles for those stories. So like every title in here directly corresponds to some of his writing. It all sort of began weirdly with Blue Book. So Tinian was doing these backups, True Weird, and they were just find a weird story that's based on a truism or supposedly true and tell it. And I had always loved this story about, it's called The Green Children, and it takes place during this time period of the Anarchy, which I didn't know until later, and this is kind of why I tied the Anarchy into it. But in this short story, it was about these 2 kids who showed up on a farm in like 1138 in Woolpit, which was named after these wolf pits that they would dig to protect the farm from wolves. And in one of these wolf pits, they found these 2 kids who were green. Their skin was green, their clothes were green, and they spoke a weird language. And this is written not only about by William Newbury, but it's recorded by like several other sources. The kids don't speak any English or Old English at the time. They're unfamiliar with the food. They only wanted to eat peas, which is just weird. The kids who wanted to eat peas. And one kid gets really sickly and dies. The other one grows up, and she eventually learns to speak English. And she tells them that she is from this foreign land called Saint Martin's Land, which gets into like this really weird. There's like this Christian mythology stuff that happens in the medieval time periods where it's a mixture of like sort of pagan folklore and Christianity, right? So like she says she's from this place called Saint Martin's Land and it has a church in it and stuff, but it's this place where it's always twilight. And basically she tells a fairy story. She was just from this alternate reality thing. Now there's lots of reasons why she might have been telling the story. And I don't mean story as in a lie, but why she might have thought of this is because the world that she's, grown up around, and she's picked up on these stories and stuff. And like, I think Newbury was trying to say that it's very possible that she was actually, these were 2 Flemish orphans who were left behind because of all these battles and fights that were going on in the country at the time, and they were malnourished. So like even back then they were thinking like in these sort of detective-like ways, they're trying to figure out. And other people were like, yeah, these are just fairies from the other world, and it proves that God exists, and the blah blah blah, right? But it made for a great story, and we did that I think it appears in the first issue of Blue Book and the backup. And I had always loved that story, but as I was doing the research, I was like, there's more to tell here. Once I realized that Newbury had written these other stories, and if you look him up online, they call him like the world's first vampire hunter, so he's like the Fox Mulder of the medieval time period and stuff, even though he never left the monastery. But he was recording all these stories because, if you swear to God or whatever, and, this is Christ's truth or whatever, he's gonna write it down. Well, this is what happened, right? And it's all these other crazy stories. Just really weird stuff of like signs from the heavens and demons and ghosts and beings coming back from the dead, writing letters of attribution and just really weird stuff. I had to tone it down because I wanted this to be not all ages like in tone, but I just wanted to be welcoming to everybody. But some of the stories are really bloody and assaulty and just insane. But like it kind of all came to me at once. So once I realized I wanted to do this, the only issue was I was thinking I felt like I needed something to set it apart. And I think I had been missing doing various anthropomorphic stuff. And as I started thinking about it, then I was asking myself that same question. Well, why would I do this anthropomorphic other than to set it apart? And I miss drawing these kind of animal stuff and whatnot. And then I started thinking story related reasons for this. Yeah, it all started to come together from there. And it's one of those things, sometimes an idea comes to you all at once. And almost like an archaeologist, you're just scraping away everything else because you know where the story is. And you're just kind of getting rid of all the other noise. And it came together very quickly. And I'm super happy with it. I've written it, I've drawn it, I've colored it, I've even lettered it. So I'm just doing everything on this. The 4 covers all connect. And the first 2 issues are out now, and the trade is available for pre-order. And I really hope people check it out because I hope we get to do more.
I was going to say you have plans, at least for the 4 issues that you send me and stuff. It looks like you'd like to continue the story, obviously.
Yeah, I'd like to do like 3 volumes. Feels perfect. You know, I don't quite have those other stories yet. I mean, I know they would involve like the anarchy. There's plenty of other stories that Wayne wrote about dead people coming back. You know, there's plenty of that stuff to do. But the question is, how do you make it, you know, character motivated? So that's the whole thing. But I love the world. I love just that time period. It's very cozy. You know, it's cozy but creepy. You know, it's that perfect sort of, you know, that vibe there is something I really love. So I really like to be able to just live in that world for a while.
That's great, man. And truly, I've always appreciated your little turns in history because they are unique. They're not.
No, thanks.
They're not. They're never the obvious. So that's great. And yeah, I mean, honestly, people should catch up on William of Newbury from Dark Horse. I think it's a really cool series. Jason Kim saying hello.
Hey.
One of our Hawaiian friends. That's great to
Aloha,
see.
dude.
So yeah, that's awesome. Well, and let's see, what else have we got? We've certainly got, of course, your series with Mags Visaggio, Galaxy of Madness, Mad Cave. So how is it working with Mad Cave, man? I've honestly, it gives me the opportunity to say how impressed I've been with Mad Cave's output the last couple of years. Really, really come on strong, I think, as a publisher of alternative ideas. So tell me about.
They're great. They really are fantastic to work with. I've admired how they slowly built themselves up, how they didn't grow too quickly, which is the common mistake with a lot of publishers who experience success is that. Pardon me, a lot of coffee. They can overload themselves, right? And I think they've done a great job. They do a great job with consumer outreach. They do very well in direct market, but they also do a very good job at selling and speaking directly to their audience, which is I think is key. You know, so it doesn't feel like when you're buying books from them or you're getting your messaging from them, you're really getting it from them. And they've been great to us. It's been an amazing series. I talked to them about it's a crazy time right now. Like these 3 books all coming out at the same time. And nobody felt threatened by it or anything like that. We just made sure that we kind of put some space in between books so that we weren't stepping on each other's toes and nobody had any problem with it. And very excited for this series, which Taki's coloring. Mags and I started working on it way back during the pandemic. I love the story that she came up with. It's all very character driven, very family oriented space drama that has a lot of retro Silver Age vibes to it, and I'm just having the time of my life on it. So those 3 books are all coming out now at the same time, and the Kickstarter. I'm tired.
No, that's great, Mike. Truly, and we had Mags on before the series got started, and you, Talk, and Mags talked about the everything. So I'm glad it's being well received, and again, Mad Cave, I think, killing it not only with their original stuff, but also the licenses they've picked up. Would you ever wanna? Are you doing anything with Flash Gordon or Dick Tracy? I mean, of course, you had your run with Dick Tracy at IDW, but I mean, any nods to those with Mad Cave having a license?
Love to, but I'm also, just doing so much. It's a combination of, of course I'm driven to tell stories, and I'm excited that I have the opportunity to tell my own stories and to publish them. But it's just tough to juggle everything, and you can't always just grab another opportunity. Sometimes you have to say no to stuff because you've got to be committed to getting the things that you're working on out. My life is very schedule oriented, especially when I'm working on multiple things at once. The day sometimes is bifurcated into, this part of the day is for this and this, that. Paperwork is a big part of it, unfortunately. Like the Kickstarter stuff, man. While it's super rewarding, there's so much work that goes into it. So I'd love to pop in and do some like Flash Gordon stuff like that. And maybe it'll happen, but at the same time, I'm like, I should say no to things.
No, I understand, man. So you kind of telegraphed that you've also got other projects cooking with Bendis and maybe.
Yeah.
Now is James's other thing? Is that just the next arc of Blue Book, or is that something different as well with James?
I'm sure at some point there'll be something different with James, but the next thing with James is more Blue Book. Brian and I have had a thing in the works for a while, which we're ready to finally kind of like release it onto the world, and we have sort of several sets of plans. So just stay tuned for that. I mean, so the game was always like, I even took a picture of it. Maybe I'll share it with you later. And I sent it over to Brian and some friends. And I have this big whiteboard. And on the whiteboard, it's just this insanity of threatening deadlines and projects. Like the first column is stuff that I'm doing now, right? So that's what's on the plate now is I'm BPRD. This other thing that I'm working on, I can't say. The Afterrealm is currently happening, and I'm forgetting something else. I just finished writing Assassin's Creed Odyssey, so I was able, or Assassin's Creed
Fun
something, so I was able to take that out. But yeah, so there's like this list of stuff that's happening right now. Like I have deadlines for these right now; they're being worked into the schedule. Then there's this much larger list, the secondary column, that is stuff that is in the future, and that could be 2 years from now, or it could be 6 months from now. And sometimes those things will jump around. Right, they'll happen faster or sooner. Like some of the stuff Brian and I were talking about wasn't quite at that top of the list yet, and now it's hopping right to the top of the right now list. And then there's stuff that's even further in the future, like a list of Kickstarter stuff, like the next bunch of stuff that I plan on doing. So the idea is, especially if you're generally working outside of the work for hire Marvel DC stuff, like it is a constant hustle to plan the next thing that you have out, to look at your schedule and go like, when do you have when does money stop coming in, right? And knowing when I need a work for hire job, and then trying to balance that on top of all the other things, and like, oh, I want to do this next project really bad, but it's very long, so if I start it now, it's gonna be a problem later. Like it's like a Tetris game of scheduling, and but it works out. Like I've not had any serious scheduling problems other than just going crazy.
So you mentioned BPRD. Is that something that's coming up?
Yeah. It is a story with it takes place in the 50s. It centers around one of the characters, Susan Zhang. Hellboy's in it a little bit. It's written by Chris Roberson.
Oh, great.
Yeah. And in fact, I think it was like a year ago at Rose City Comic Con, we did a panel with Mignola, and we had a print of it to sort of announce the thing, but it was also so early on, we didn't quite really announce it. We just handed out this print that we signed and stuff. But I'm halfway through that, and we have some other plans in the future for some stuff too. Like when I turned 50, I was kind of looking back and thinking about my career, and I was very happy, and thinking about things that I've done right and things that I should have done more of. And one of them was just working with Mignola and BPRD. I had done one of the very first BPRD stories, Soul of Venice with Miles Gunter. And at the time, it just seemed like, oh, they'll do a couple spin-offs of Hellboy. and this will be one of them. Had no idea it would spin off into the Mignola verse, and the next thing you know, it's 20 years later, and I go, I should have done more. I've done a couple of one shots here and there, but I was like, yeah, let me make sure, let's get on this. And I talked to Mike and to Dark Horse, and we're like, let's plan some stuff. So on top of everything else, these are all things in the future that we plan on doing. But BPRD is happening right now. I don't know when they're announcing like the official when it gets released, anything like that.
That's great, man. And Jason obviously is very excited to hear it as well. And another buddy of ours, Zach, saying hello. Good to see you,
Hey,
Zach.
Zach.
Thanks for watching. God, no, I'm glad, Mike. I was going to ask if you had done other BPRD stuff, because I would think the historical bent to the BPRD universe and Hellboy and stuff would be an itch you'd want to scratch. So that makes a lot of sense. And I know Chris has been doing great stuff with BPRD when he does it. So yeah, I'm excited to see the collaboration. Have you guys worked together before, you and Chris?
Just a short story. We did a BPRD. I think it was BPRD 1956, and I did a story that he wrote with. I think her name is Barbera. It's that little creepy doll with the big locks. Somebody will correct us. I think that was the first time that we worked together, and he lives here in Portland, and I'm just outside of Portland. So we get together and stuff, and we've got a lot that we're planning. And just really excited about it. He's a great guy, great writer. This story is a lot of fun. If you've never read any of the previous stories with Susan or these particular group of characters, he's written in such a way you can just leap right in and enjoy it.
That sounds great, man.
There's some Hellboy in there,
which is always good, man. I don't know if I've ever seen your take on Hellboy, so that's going to be a lot of fun to see as well.
I drew Hellboy once in a Hellboy Christmas special or winter special, Christmas special, and it was written by Chelsea Kane, and it was Hellboy and some snowballs, and it was a lot of fun.
Have you recently moved? Weren't you closer to Seattle a while back? And now
I was in Seattle, or just outside of Seattle, but that was when I first moved out, and I was working at the video game company Valve, where we were working.
Oh, okay. Wow, that far back.
Yeah, we were working on like Left 4 Dead and Team Fortress and stuff. Then I moved down to Portland. Then I decided if we're ever going to have a house, we had to move out. But I'm like just a stone throw away from Portland.
Wonderful. That's great, man. No, because I normally I don't think of you and Tak as part of the Portland Mafia and everything, but it's
we just don't, between my work and the house, we just don't hardly get out, And when we do, it's just to Brian's house. It's like a beeline from here to Brian's house. I mean, that's what I'm trying to get better at it. David Walker's here. He's a very close friend of ours. So we get together with him with lunch.
Yeah.
Trying to get Chris Robertson to get out more because he's just as bad as we are. He's just married to his work and he's just like focused. But you gotta shake it up every now and then. One of the nice things is that Books with Pictures throws a comics gathering every now and then. So we all force ourselves to get out. Half of us are cool, like they actually go out and see things and do things, and the other half of us are like squirrely, like, what are we doing here? Oh my god, I'm outside.
No, I get it, man. Absolutely. Well, I see the occasional photos on your Facebook feed and Brian's Facebook feed that shows that you guys are out and doing something and celebrating something. So
yeah, it's like proof.
Exactly, man. No, and believe me, I understand. It is tough sometimes, and yeah, I've been sticking my head into the work and not being as social, but I'm trying to get better at that. Especially summertime and everything. So
I have a very I'm very self-conscious, or I'm very conscious about my work and my relationship with my work, and I enjoy keeping it slightly unhealthy, not too unhealthy, right? Like I do get out and stuff, but like I am driven by the work. Like my self-value comes through doing the work. It's not even necessary in the release of the work or like how it's received or anything. It's like making pages every day keeps me sane, and I'm really, really driven by it. And I can go a couple days without drawing or writing, but past that, it goes the other way for me, and it becomes unhealthy in a different way. So one of the reasons I don't go out, it has less to do with sort of a general social anxiety and more to do with, I could be working on this other idea that I want to do that's in the third column, Like if I start working on that outline now, by the time it gets into the second column or the first column, it's halfway done. And I love that.
That's great, man. No, I think Denny O'Neil would be proud of you, because that's kind of that was his writing method, was the A story, the B story, and the C story.
Oh yeah,
And
yeah.
so that's the way he'd feed the monthly DC books that he was working
my
at.
deadline. All editors would love my dedication to the deadline. I will write to my editors if I think I might be a little bit late. Like if I'm not early, I'm late.
I always forget, and I'm so glad you mentioned that you worked with Victor Santos back in the day. Zach wants to know, he really enjoyed Project Monarch from you and Victor.
Yay! Thank you.
Love the collaboration between you two. Would you two be working together in the future?
100%. We're actually. I asked him for one of his projects. I was like, let's work together again, especially because I've gotten. One of the things I'm so proud about with William Newberry was through Taki and her experiences working on her biography book. I learned how to edit myself in a completely different way. So my writing has changed and grown in such a way that I'm just so excited to do more writing. So I said to Victor, like, we've always worked together on one of sort of my ideas, right? Or it starts with my ideas, and then he contributes and it becomes our thing. So I was like, what do you have, man? Like, let me build something with you that you start. So yeah, we've got something planned already. Yeah. So we're definitely gonna be doing more stuff with Victor.
That's so great to hear. I'm such a fan, and have become more of a fan of his solo books as well over the years.
Yeah. He's like me, but even crazier. Like he's like, he makes me look slow. He makes me look unambitious. And I'm just blessed to get to work with him and call him my brother, because he's fantastic. Yeah, he's everything I want to be as a creator.
I get it. No, that's outstanding, man. Really, really, really cool. Will you be at Rose City?
I always say I'm not going to be, and then I always end up there. So more than likely, if Brian has a table, I'll probably be there hanging out, at least on like a Saturday or something. Because I have 3 books out. I should probably promote them.
No, I get it. Tell me, so is Taki in the process of doing her biography, or?
Oh no, this is for Sleeping While Standing, which came out a couple years ago.
Got it. Of course.
Yeah, and then it was a combination of her doing that, and then her and Brian were teaching writing classes at PSU, and that really got my writing brain going again. I had been in and out of it for a while, and those classes and Taki's new approach of writing really ignited something in me, to the point that I reached out to Dark Horse for some work for hire work. Not to just write some creator own stuff, but I wanted the challenge of writing something that was work for hire. And that's how I ended up doing Assassin's Creed with Mirko Kolak. Mirko's posting some of his art, so if you check out his Twitter account, you'll see some of the stuff he's doing for our Assassin's Creed story, which takes place in ancient Axum, which is Ethiopia today, and kind of centers around the legend of their eagles that all the Assassin's Creed characters have, and really excited about that because I love that game, and it was nice to be part of it. And again, the whole history thing keeps popping up, so I got to do sort of a historical piece in there.
That's excellent. Oh, Stanley has an interesting question. Mike, do you like to paint much?
That's a tough one. I do, but it's really hard. I really like doing watercolors. When I did these 4 watercolor pieces for William Newberry, these 4 connecting covers, I hadn't painted in years, so my paints had dried up, and I just dove into the deep end. And if you see the originals, which I'll show at some point, the colors are completely different. They're almost completely different than what you ended up. And I ended up changing a lot in Photoshop because I just was struggling as I was going along from being out of practice. But I also don't believe in giving up. I believe in working with what you have and finishing it. In fact, I finished an earlier version of one of these covers, of the first cover, and then I trashed it. So I got it all the way done, right? So I wasn't going to let myself pull out of it by giving up. I just made sure I finished it. And then at the end, when I decided this isn't good enough or this isn't right, then I gave up on it. But I never like I don't ever give up on something that I'm working on, because usually I find something better. Um, whether it's through purposeful choices or accidents. And this happens with writing too. Like whenever I get notes from an editor, they've never lessened the story. Like even if it bugs me at first, I'll find something else, and almost always it's a better outcome because I'm thinking about it more. So I do enjoy painting. I would like to do some more painting. The issue is just time, especially with watercolors. You have to sit at a blow dryer and try and get it to hurry up so you can keep moving and stuff. Yeah.
That's great, Mike. Honestly, I'm so excited for what you're working on right now and whatever's in Plan B and Plan C. That's we'll look forward to those when the announcements come. And certainly, it sounds like you and Bendis have got something cooking, and maybe
I
we'll
was
hear
just going
something.
to bring that up again. I was like, yeah, we haven't. I mean, obviously, we have got Murder Inc. going on.
Of course, yeah.
Murder Inc. is under development over at Amazon, and things are actually happening.
That's great. Way to go, Mike. Seriously, I haven't had a chance to congratulate you or Brian about that. That's wonderful.
Thanks, man. Yeah, we're so excited. And then we've got new stuff to do. I think the pandemic stole some time from us, creatively, and so we're looking to get back into doing something together. I mean, it's kind of where I shine the most for sure. Is bouncing off of Brian. So yeah, we've got two things that we're cooking up. Some of which is there's a lot of work already done on it.
Good to hear. Excellent to hear. I'll let you answer this question. I know the answer, but Zach wants to know if Mad Cave is a creator-owned publisher along with licensed properties similar to Dark Horse.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. There are there's other creator-owned books there. I think there's some books that they developed in-house that they own. I think. And yeah, they just started doing, what was it? Was it Gatchaman?
Right.
Yeah,
right,
they got some of those.
Of course.
Yeah,
Yeah.
And Dick Tracy and
Flash Gordon and Dick Tracy,
Gordon.
yeah.
All the good stuff.
Yeah, man. No. And truly, a lot of my friends are working on this stuff. Art and Franco are doing a kids parody of Flash Gordon. That's going to be a lot of fun. Mike Morisi and Alex Segura writing the Dick Tracy thing. That's really cool. Yeah. And yeah, I saw the Gatchaman announcements and everything. I think that's wonderful. Yeah, man. No, and they got great. Mike Martz is over there editing. Is he your editor?
Great guy. No, I think he's like he's above regular editor, like CEO. I don't know terms. He's my boss. But he's there and he's a great guy. He's always been a champion of my work. I've always been very appreciative of it. He actually sent me like an email out of nowhere, just saying like what some latest thing that just came out, and it was just really nice. One of the things that I enjoy about working at a company like Mad Cave and at Dark Horse, I feel respected there. I feel seen. A lot of times you can work for a company, and even if they pay you on time, they do all the right stuff. I don't know how to explain it. There's no sense of like they actually see you as I don't mean it it doesn't have to be a bad way if they're just doing what they need to do, but like to get that extra little bit of face time, it matters. That stuff matters. Hearing from an editor and stuff.
I've seen them operate with buddies like Baltazar and Franco, and I know I have tremendous respect for Mad Cave, and I'll even confess a few years ago when we were putting on online panels during COVID, it's like, oh, we're gonna have a Mad Cave panel. I'm like, I've never heard of Mad Cave. Things changed for the better, and I'm really glad.
Sure.
And in fact, Zach, I just
had my radar for doing new stuff too. Like some of that stuff in that third column, I'm like, well, I'll probably bring it there first, just because it feels like the right fit and stuff. And then we want to keep that relationship going.
I just had a British writer on who's doing a great crime book for Mad Cave early last month. So no, I and again, it's a creator-owned thing. So very cool, man. Yeah, that's great. Well done, Mike. Truly, I'll remind people that the After Realm Kickstarter is underway. If you missed the series, this is a great opportunity to jump in and get a beautiful slipcover, hardcover edition that collects everything, plus a new story and lots of process pages and original art as well. There's still over 3 weeks left in that campaign. And, again, the really cool William of Newbury
Yay.
excellent Dark Horse and stuff. We're in mid first arc,
Yes.
but that's a really great thing. Absolutely. And from the aforementioned Mad Cave Galaxy of Madness with Mags and Talk and Mike kicking ass, man.
Such
I
fun
think
characters.
that's outstanding. Here, final comment from Zach. Anytime you and Brian Bendis are teaming up, it's a must buy for me. Powers is my all time favorite comic. Murder Incorporated is amazing. Yeah, man. No, I get it. I mean, that was the first time I was aware of Mike's stuff and Brian as well, and it's been a wonderful 19 years getting to know you guys. You know?
Nice. Yeah, Powers is the best, man. Like it is everything that I set out to do in comics, even before I knew that I wanted to do creator-owned stuff, or that's what that was. I didn't even know how to identify it at the time. And I mean, it's weird. We're coming up on like 25 years since we've released. That's nuts.
And if you guys, I mean, I know you had the big deluxe final story.
Yeah.
Is that it, or would you do anything for the 25th?
I mean, we're always looking to do something special, you know. I mean, that story, Walker's story, is done. But you know, I like the idea. Like we did some sort of crossover recently. It was really fun. Brian appeared in getting like interrogated. I forget what book it was for, like crossover or something like that at Image. So like, yeah, anytime there's an opportunity to play with those characters again, because I miss them, right? And you know, we created a big Powers world, so who knows what the future can hold and stuff. But we always want to respect like the story that we told and how it ended.
I wonder if, you know, some of the current events could find its way into the Powers universe and everything, whether it's AI or some of the political shenanigans. I mean, you know,
yeah, I mean, like what was great about working on Powers was like the stories wrote themselves. You know, just looking at the headlines of stuff. You know, and nowadays, I mean, the world just seems more fictional than ever. So it would be pretty easy to just look out the window and go, let's do that. You know,
absolutely.
Like right now, like what is the temperature where you're at?
That's so funny. Jason was asking about the weather, and I'm like, really? You want to talk about the weather? But I'm happy to tell you, no, it's in today was mild. It was low 80s, and tomorrow will be a little
because East
But
Coast
no, we've
is
had our
100 degrees.
I was gonna say we've had our hot flashes. Wow, 100, man. We haven't. It's been a while since we've had 100.
Yeah,
but
so there's your superhero story.
Like,
all these superheroes in the world, and what could they do about this? Nothing.
Oh, no.
We were talking about our pal Jimmy Church earlier. He posted. He was washing his motorcycle, and he lives like in like Palm Springs, someplace like incredibly hot. I don't know why you would live there. Anyway, he put his hose down, and he posted his pictures. His hose exploded from the heat on the cement. Like it's popped open right in the middle of it.
Jeez,
like, we're in trouble, dude. You know, Superman couldn't save us from this. You know,
I so hear you, Mike. Absolutely, no, it's between climate change and the world on fire that the political world is giving us and stuff. It's
oh my god,
I know. It's a challenge, man. It's a challenge. Like COVID wasn't bad enough, and now we got to worry about all this other crap. It never ends.
To leave it on a hopeful note, though, when we're
Please.
talking about when we're talking about history and recent history, you know, and I was talking about how like Blue Book is sort of repeating itself and stuff. You and I are old enough to remember the 60s and the 70s, you know, while people are afraid of what's going on out there and we have to be vigilant. The 60s and 70s, you know, we had literal assassinations happening on a regular basis in cities. Some were presidential, but some of them were like local elections. People were just being shot. Cities were literally being burned down to the ground. Civil rights hadn't kicked in for the first half of that. We got through all of that. And I'm not saying the world is perfect or anything, but that there is always hope. So we're talking about Earth burning and the craziness of the thing out there. We do have a recent past that we can look at. Like even environmentally, I mean, I don't know if people remember what smog is, but there used to be a time where the cities were so full of pollution that they looked like there was a fire out all the time. You know, we worked our way through it. So
you're right.
So let's be hopeful. Look into the recent past, and we can learn some stuff, and then maybe we can have a future.
Amen, man. No, you're right about all that, and it's true. And God, you're right when you say smog. that was a huge problem in California and Los Angeles, and things have gotten because they made an
They were
effort.
telling you not to go outside back then. The air was
There
so
were
bad.
smog
Don't go outside.
Yeah, absolutely. There were smog alerts. Absolutely, man.
Yeah.
No, you're right. I had the opportunity a couple of years ago to talk to Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, and he was so because he was writing those Mycroft Holmes novels and graphic novels and stuff. But I had to ask him because it's a guy who was such a front row participant in the upheaval of the 60s and 70s, and it's just like, God, I'm so glad you're still out there commenting, because few people have the perspective that he has on what's going down and what and what's come up, and he's not afraid to talk about the problems, but he's also thankfully a guy that talks about the stuff that makes him happy and things we look forward to. So no, he's like I said, I'm just really glad he's out there and stuff. So but there you go.
So recent history, man. We got to pay attention. We got to listen to it.
Amen. Absolutely. Dude, so good to catch up. I'm sorry it's been so long.
Man. Oh, that's my fault. I just been,
Oh, no.
drawing.
It's always mutual. I mean, no, we're both, we're both doing work, and all of a sudden we look up and it's like, oh, it's been over a year. Jesus, let's have a new conversation. Yeah. And you have your hands full. We talked about all the stuff that you're working on, so I respect that. But truly, man, no, it's always great to see you. I hope fortune finds me at a Rose City or some other convention.
That'd be awesome, man.
Or regardless, just a visit of Portland and stuff, and see you guys all. Because
come out now. You can hang out with Ed Brubaker. He's filming out here and everything.
I know hey man. I know Brian sent me the photos of the criminal set. Yeah, and I'm so happy for Ed. I mean, and that's the great. I mean, seriously, man. I don't know. He's an LA guy normally, but there's like, if I could pick up and move, I would absolutely move to Portland, because there's literally a dozen of you, men and women, that I love out there that I would absolutely be. No, you guys would be like, oh shit, it's Suntress again.
You'd be welcome with open arms, buddy.
I got home. Tell make up something, talk. Take a message. Nah, you've always been great, Mike, and I always appreciate it, man.
We're always welcome over here.
I appreciate that, bud, and my best to talk. And I'm sure you'll talk to Brian before I do, so give him my best as well. But great talking as always, and great catching up.
Thanks for having me on, and thanks guys for your questions.
Thanks everybody for watching. Tomorrow night I'm trying to get back to the regular schedule, everybody, and gonna have our usual sci-fi TV catch up with Mitch and Wayne. Franco is on assignment, so he won't be joining us, but hey, we got new episodes of Star Trek Prodigy. We got a whole bunch of other things. The Boys, anticipating Batman Cape Crusader, mentioning Ed Brubaker, and a lot of other stuff. It's gonna be a busy July and a busy August, but Word Balloon will be there for you. So thanks for watching. Stay safe, stay happy, stay healthy.